The Square Ball Podcast.
Hello there and welcome to the show. This is The West Stand. It's our new show for this season that's out on a Monday and Friday, generally speaking, fixtures permitting and all that. You can find it on YouTube and in your podcast app as well, where we welcome guests from right across the world of Leeds United. I'm Dan Moylan. With me is Michael Normanton. Hello, Michael Normanton.
You all right?
I'm all right. I think you're all right. 1 week to Black Friday now, isn't it? And with that in mind...
It's already started some places, you know.
Yeah.
It's everywhere. Can't get enough of it.
And you can be everywhere with NordVPN, in a virtual sense anyway.
It's true. I mean, you know, I enjoy Google Maps, street walk. Sometimes I'll put my VPN on, pretend I'm in... Why not be in Paris virtually twice?
That's just the way it is, isn't it? What a deal we've got.
Pop a beret on.
If you're wondering about why to have a VPN, obviously there's the privacy angle. You know, you can watch sports events and TV shows from different regions as well. If you put yourself in a different location, shall we say, loads of other good reasons as well. 10 devices at once, you can use that on. That's good, isn't it?
That's proved very expensive. I had to buy 7 additional devices.
Right. Fast. It's a very, very fast VPN as well. And helps you with your connection. Like your ISP won't throttle your connection if you are watching something that they don't want you to be watching. For example, on booking stuff as well, this is the sweet spot for you, I think, because you can, if you've ever been on sometimes hotel booking systems or flights, they bump the prices up if they know that you've been there before.
Yeah,
if they know in it, sneaky.
If they know you've had a look already, they'll be like, they're on the hook here. We can get them to buy.
On top of all that stuff, there's NordVPN's threat protection feature, which protects you from viruses, malware, phishing, and it's basically the cost of a cup of coffee per month. Can't say fairer than that, can you? And I was already a paying customer, so I will vouch for them, genuinely. If you want to get the exclusive Black Friday discount off your NordVPN plan, head to nordvpn.com/TSB. That link will give you an additional 4 months on top of the discounted 2-year plan that's available there. Risk-free as well. 30-day money-back guarantee offered by NordVPN. Head to nordvpn.com/TSB and you will find the link in the episode description box as well. Michael.
Oui. I'm still in France.
You're still in Paris, right? Yeah. Très bon. And now we welcome our guest. Welcome to the show, former Leeds United left-back and England international Tony Dorigo, who sat through that. Hiya, Tony.
Hello.
And welcome back as we come out of the international break. And we wanted to talk to you actually about international football and tap into your experience of this, because as fans, obviously we don't get to see behind the curtain and what that's like. What is it like being away on international football? How is it different from the club setup, and what is it like coming back from international football and back into the club game?
I think when you go away with your country, it is obviously a great honour. Great to play with all those England players that I did. And you experience different things. It's a different style of football. I had the great Sir Bobby Robson, Graham Taylor, and right at the end, Terry Venable, just for one kind of get-together. And yeah, so you see a different way of doing things and playing with different players. But I always thought I look forward to going away, for sure. I really did look forward to going away. I loved sitting on that bench for England, was wonderful, game after game. But always with the hope that I'm going to get out there and play, or, if I'm called upon, I am going to be ready. So I think I was in, 50, 60 squads and got 15 caps, but, absolutely delighted and look forward to all of that. So it was really good to look forward to playing in. You'd then switch your mind from your club to the country, and that kind of helped. It kind of gave your mind a breather for the league stuff. But at the same time, you then really look forward to getting back because you're excited about what you just did, but then you wanted to get back into the league game with your club. So in a strange way, they both benefited each other. That's how I felt.
As people are listening to this, they may have noticed you're Australian.
No way.
Or Italian, a bit of Italian. So how do you end up playing for England?
That's a good question. So my father is Italian. My mother's Australian. My dad left Italy when he was 15 to go to Australia, but retained an Italian passport. Their laws were that his children could also get an Italian passport. Therefore, I had an Australian passport and an Italian passport. With the Italian one, I could come to the EEC at the time, as it was, and then apply for a work permit every 6 months. So I came to Villa as a kid. I signed for Villa, and every 6 months I applied for this work permit. 4 years down the track, that's when the English FA came to me and said, you do know 1 more year's residence and you can apply for a British passport. And if you do that, we'd like you to pick England to play for. Is that something you'd be interested in? And I said, yeah, absolutely, I'd love to. And that's because international football back then, the international calendars weren't aligned. So playing for Australia was really difficult. And I did get asked to play for Australia when I was 18. And I had to go back for a 4 or 5 week period. And we were playing, world football giants like Solomon Islands and Fiji and, the big one, American Samoa. And so I'm thinking, wow, this is incredible. I want to play for Australia. I go in to see my manager and he says, just name those countries again you're playing. And I explained.
Was this Barton at Villa?
Yeah. This was Barton at Villa. Yeah. And he says, are you serious? And I've gone, yeah. He said, well, we're playing Arsenal. We're playing, Liverpool. And you want to play, American Samoa. Yeah, sorry, boss. You're right. No, forget it. And hot-footed out there. And that was it. So basically, he wouldn't let me go. It was a silly thing to do anyway, and I couldn't have done it because you can't leave in the middle of a season for 5-6 weeks. Put it to the back of my mind, and that's when England came. And I jumped at the chance.
You said we there when talking about Australia, which suggests that you consider yourself Australian.
It's difficult.
But you've got a really unique identity, and that's it. Like for me, it's easy. I would have qualified. I qualified for Ireland.
You never know.
Like in my mid-40s, I could just hop off and go play for Ireland just through my my grandma.
Yeah.
I would have got an Irish passport, could have played for them. But, I'm English to all intents and purposes. Sure, you're waiting for the call-up still?
Yeah, again. Yeah, I'm also eligible for... if you're eligible for one island, you're eligible for both, actually, aren't you?
Right.
Technically a Good Friday agreement. So, I don't know who's doing the worst at the moment out of the two of them, but I think I'm still probably quite far down the list.
So it's an abstract idea and a silly one at that for us, Tony. But what about you in terms of your national identity? Because there's a lot going into that particular soup.
There really is. And sometimes I feel like I'm stuck over the ocean in between Australia and Great Britain in that I went... and did stuff for Australian TV. And they think I'm a Pom. Simple as that. I'm English and that's it. But when I was here, like you just said then, but you're Australian. So hold on, I'm neither? Is that what it is? Or I'm both? I don't know. And I feel certainly when I said I'd play for England, I felt a pang because I would have loved to have played for Australia. At 18, if Tony Barton said, yeah, Tony, you can go for 5 weeks, I would have been down there like a shot. And the green and gold, what I, grew up thinking. As I chose England, and as I'm still here, I love the weather so much. I'm still here. I feel, very much at home here, and I love going back to Oz. In fact, I'm going back in March to see my family again, which would be brilliant. But I feel here's where I'm gonna live. I have lived for 80% of my life, and I will continue to. Yeah,
yeah. There are very close cultural links between the UK and Australia, aren't they? Historically, shall we say?
They're sending me back here. Okay, I know where you're coming with that one. Yeah,
but I mean, in a modern sense, there aren't there? Like, there's There's always been a lot of transition and movement between the two.
There has. Listen, you go to Sydney or Melbourne, and you'll see all the English names. It's a lovely lifestyle out there. It really is. The weather's wonderful. People are great, but. For me, what I really want to do and experience is here, and that's football. And if we could transport Leeds United to Brisbane, okay, great. Yeah. But if we can't, which obviously we're not going to, then I'll stay here, thanks.
Because you normally would find 18-year-old Aussies working behind the bar in a bar in Leicester Square or something like that in London, wouldn't you, when they're travelling around the world? But just returning back to the international football setup, you were saying that actually it was nice to sometimes get away from the club and go into a different environment just to break that up. But can it also break up the rhythm of what you're used to doing back at the club? So where does it fall on that spectrum?
It can. For me, as now watching football and commentating on it, and I look at Leeds and thinking, okay, we're hitting some form here, and then there's nothing. It seems like a big void for a couple of weeks. I find that difficult, but that's just the way that it is, and you've just got to deal with it and do the best with what you've got. I think it's difficult for the manager because you don't know what situation the player's going to come back in. Are they fit? How many minutes have they had? We've had some strange ones, haven't we? Verba's not played for us, and yet he's played for Austria, a full game stint. So that's kind of a bonus that he managed to get through. So as a club, as a club manager, I can see how that's difficult. But I think for players, we just keep looking forward to it, and then you switch back on to your club stuff, and away you go.
Did you ever come back from international duty with an injury, or you must have seen it, surely, and how is that received at club level?
A splinter or something.
Oh, I like that.
that was me.
That was
Sorry.
A little nasty, granted. I had a few of those to pull out. Okay. Yes, and in fact, it was when I signed for Leeds United. I went to Australia, New Zealand, and Malaysia on an England tour, and I got down there, trained a few days, and had a hernia problem, and in the end, came back to have a double hernia operation before I'd even played for Leeds. So that really wasn't clever.
Yeah.
And that's when I got called in by Howard, the boss, and he said to me, Tony, you've been away with England, and now you've come back with an injury. You've had an operation. I think I might have signed the softest Aussie ever. And I looked at him and thinking, what the hell's going on here? You've just signed me. You gave me this big speech about, what we're going to do together, how you can improve me and how I can improve the team and what we're going to aim for and this, that and the other. And the first thing you're doing now, I'm back in training. I am trying to get fit as quick as I can. And you're saying you've signed the softest Aussie. And I'm thinking, is he serious or is he not? And then he went on. So I was a bit stunned. And then he went on to say, well, this operation that you've had, normally it's a 6-week recuperation. But I had a player at Sheffield Wednesday called Nigel Worthington that came back in 5 weeks. So I've gone, right. I thought, right. So I thought, I got this now. I know what to say. I said, boss, you're used to Nigel Worthington. Wait till you see me play and I'll be back in 4.5.
Exactly what he was after.
Exactly what he was after.
Yeah.
And I was back in 4.5. And hopefully then it got my fitness back and on we went. But
that is an era as well where, because a friend of mine recently had hernia surgery and they do some incredible things like with surgical mesh now where they put it in and the tissue grows back around it. And I think it's far less uncomfortable. Presumably they're just stitching you up at that point. Back in
two
the
big
day.
stitches, yeah, back in the day, yeah. And the guy was called Gilmore's groin. The operation was called Gilmore's groin. Dr. Gilmore that did it. And he put his finger in a certain place. Not that place you're thinking.
Right.
Okay,
yeah.
a different place.
Not the prostate
Not
check.
that one, no. But somewhere close. His fingers were so big, I defy anyone not to jump through the roof anyway. So at the end of the season...
Was that in the hernia? Actually?
Yeah, in where the muscle goes through the other muscles. And you tear them slightly. So they don't pop through, they just tear. And so it took a while to warm up. But at the end of the season, you would have 14 players at Princess Grace Hospital 3 times a week getting this operation done. So it was a really popular operation to get done.
Sounds horrible, doesn't it? I was just thinking about actually the disruption angle of it. Because Brendan Aronson, has he played any more than that 20 minutes in the first game? So he's flown across the Atlantic. He's been ill for one of the games, then played 20 minutes in the other one. Is that right? And he'll be coming back. Is that a useful way to spend his time? No,
of course it's not. And that's the difficulty now that the international calendars are aligned. Yeah. You can fly a long way away to whatever country that you're playing for or playing in. But travel is all part of it. But it's just an extended travel. It's not great. However, I do think the way they look after them now, the way they travel, and all that sort of stuff is so much better. No private jets in your day? No private jets. EasyJet was lovely even back then. Actually, to be fair, we used to all travel together on a normal plane, but you'd have all the press on there as well. And so it would be a big old a big old event. You'd all go together and all come back. Now I think it's a bit different to that. Press are kept away. Those relationships aren't there anymore. It's just different. How does that bubble differ from the club bubble? The England bubble is huge. And the microscope on England is from every single angle. And I think the first time I really felt that in a big way was the World Cup. Obviously, it's going to be a lot of eyes on you, but all of a sudden you had a lot of sports journalists from every media outlet, and paper and TV. Then you had news journalists from every paper and TV. So not only did they want stories for the back page, they were looking for stuff on the front page. And that's uncomfortable. You know, they're digging for all sorts of stuff. So then you're thinking, oh my God, you know, I just want to play football here. And there's lots of other things to think about. You know, your club football, it's not like that. You get to know the local journalists and, you know, everyone kind of works together. But England, it was different.
So did you used to hang around with bats then when you were on international duty?
He'd scare them off, to be honest. Yeah, there's a reporter, bats. Yeah, I did. We stuck together. We roomed together, and we had. It's funny. I looked back just recently. I had some photos England photos, and there were a few with me and bats. And we had to do a thing for Mars Bar.
I know the photos. The tree,
the tree with the tree. I look at bats thinking how uncomfortable he was. And thinking, can we get out of here, you know, quickly?
What was David Batty like as a roommate?
He was great. He was really good, but just down to earth. You know, no messing about. I think there was certainly one occasion in, I think it was New Zealand actually, that I soon worked out what you did with bats. In that, don't try and fight him. That's the first thing, because we were mucking about, and he's whacked me with a pillow, and so I've got the pillow and I've whacked him back with the pillow. He's then picked up a solid silver tray and flung it straight at my head. It hit my tooth and cracked my front tooth. So I'm thinking either I pick this tray up and throw it back, but the next step could be my death. So I'm leaving it here and going to go fix my tooth. So he didn't mess about with bats, but he just, you do something to him, he'll get you back.
It's like any good domestic argument. You reach a point in your life where you realise you need to de-escalate.
Where does this go next? No, we're good.
Exactly.
When the silver trays are being thrown around,
I'm thinking that's not a good thing. Yeah, so we stopped, but we were just mucking about. But I think there was another one where New Zealand again, actually. Yeah, we had a day off, and you could either go fishing or play golf. And so Bats decided to go fishing. I decided to go play golf, and we both came back on the evening, ready to go down for dinner. And he had he went fishing, but his tracksuit, England tracksuit, was just covered in fish guts. It was stinking, like there was blood, like brown stuff, red stuff all over it. He said, I had a great day fishing. I said, yeah, but the tracksuit, like, it's covered in fish crap. What the hell is going on? He says, yeah. It's not my tracksuit, it's actually yours. So he took it off, threw it at me, and gave me tracksuit back. I thought, are you freaking kidding me?
Fair play.
And so, so I'm thinking, should I pick this silver tray up? Or I thought, no, just leave it there. Leave it there.
It strikes me a little bit like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but a bit like a giant school trip in some elements, because you've got a load of young-ish men there, all together in a closed environment, presumably quite a lot of free time around the training. You're bored, you need to do things to amuse yourselves, that kind of thing.
You're absolutely right. And we did. They would try and entertain us in different ways as well, but because you can only train for so long, then you've really got to recover, but it's a lot of time in between then the next training session or the game, or then you're travelling. So you've got to get used to that sort of thing. So there'd be little card groups that we'd play stuff. And that particular trip, Graham Taylor had a coach called Steve Harrison, who was probably the funniest guy I've ever come across. He's just amazing. And he managed to make those dull hours actually really, really funny. He did some crazy stuff, like properly crazy stuff, which I can't explain to you on this show. But probably one of the things I can was that we just had flown all the way from Heathrow to I think it's Sydney Airport, and we're waiting for our luggage. So we're all in like collar and tie, and all the old committee members are there as well, travelling, and the belt, the luggage belt, light's gone on, and it's just started to move. So we turn around, and now we're waiting to watch our luggage come through. First thing that comes through is Steve Harrison. He comes through with his suit on, sitting on the luggage with a luggage tag on his finger, holding his finger up. And he's just going through on this like figure of 8 belt, and then goes out the other way, ducks, and just goes out.
God, you probably get shot for that these days, wouldn't you?
Exactly. Next thing, security come thrown through a door, and like we are all howling with laughter. But that was Steve Harrison. Yeah.
Did you find that there were little club groups that would form when you were away for England? Because that's one of the things that I think that was always reported around the so-called golden generation, the Man United and Liverpool players. There'd be little pockets of them, and there was these Leeds disruptors coming in from the side.
Same thing. Yep, exactly the same thing. We had that, and especially depending on how that particular season had gone, you could sense it. So one particular year, I think Liverpool played Forest, I think in the FA Cup semi-finals and what have you. So with Forest, it was Neil Webb, Des Walker, Piercy, Nigel Clough, that sort of era. Then you had Barnsley, Steve McMahon, on the Liverpool side. They didn't really get on very well.
Right.
Things like that.
Did it ever spill over in training? Like they might leave one on each other sometimes?
It spilled over. Right. Yeah, in lots of ways.
I don't imagine Steve McMahon to be the coolest of heads.
No, he wasn't. I actually roomed with Steve McMahon before I did with Bat, so I roomed with him. So I was in the middle of it, shall we say. I managed to de-escalate things. Yeah. And that's what you had to do. Yeah.
So just to go back to the sort of microscope of international football, it's become one of the most infamous games of the 90s, I suppose. You're playing in the Netherlands game where Koeman should be off, scores a goal a few minutes later. Obviously, people now know that as a TV show because of this Graham Taylor on the sideline. Yeah. Very famous clips of it.
Yeah. Was that the Do I Not Like That?
Yeah.
Do I Not Like That?
When... Yeah, he's saying, thank you, referee, you've got me the sack and all that sort of stuff that goes on. How was it on the day of that? Because obviously you kind of don't know maybe quite as much drama unfolding on the sidelines. And how is Graham after that game? Because he obviously is aware it's the kind of the end of him pretty much at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, that was obviously a hugely important game. We're trying to qualify for the 94 World Cup in America, and Graham Taylor was a great guy, a passionate Englishman. Would do absolutely anything, to succeed, and you really felt for him. Just like Bobby Robson. Before that, you do anything for him. But he found, I think, for me, tactically, he found it a bit more challenging, shall we say, than managing Watford and Aston Villa, in the top divisions, and tried all sorts of different, ways and formations and what have you. And I'm not sure we always, agreed, but of course you do. You've got to just get on with it and do your best. And that particular game was a difficult one to take because, clearly those decisions are monumental, and when they go against you, you're missing a World Cup because of it. It doesn't get much bigger than that, really. So it was really frustrating. So then, the program itself, and looking on that program, I spotted myself on the bench, I think, in the dressing room afterwards, and obviously I had big curls and the thing going down the back of my head and all that sort of stuff, which is now why I'm bald, which no one really recognises me, which is probably a good thing. But yeah, I didn't notice that. To be honest, my focus was never on anything, but the game and my opponents and what I was trying to do. But then looking back at that show, it was quite sad, really. And then I also remember, Phil Neal saying exactly what Graham Taylor is, in a parrot fashion and things like that. So when you focus on those sort of things, it comes across very different. But, I just felt a great sense of grievance, I think, during the game. And we didn't get the job done, which was really frustrating.
And what's the mood like after failing to qualify for a tournament? Because we've obviously experienced failure to go up in a playoff final, for example. Mm-hmm. Is it similar to that? Or is there a different feeling? That
was slightly different. I suppose the worst feeling I've had at a major tournament would obviously be the 1990 World Cup semi-final when we got beaten on penalties, and afterwards you just don't know where to put yourself, because I was a sub. I didn't come on. Beforehand we talked about every permutation, and somehow I got told I was going to take a penalty if I came on, and it was all square, then I was going to be one of the penalty takers. So I had that in my head already. I'm watching the game. I'm wanting to come on. We were the better side. They deflection and all this sort of stuff. And then we get to the penalties, and it was just like slow motion. Like the world was just going in slow motion when they kept scoring, and obviously Piercy and Waddler didn't. So after that, it was awful. I mean, it was just awful. You wanted the ground to come up and swallow you. You wanted to leave. You wanted to just go. But then you're trying to go to players as well. So I remember going up to Gaza, who was in absolutely tears, and giving him a hug, and the other boys. But then I knew Piercy did not want to hug. I looked at him. I'm thinking, okay, I just need to give you some space here and things. So it was an awful situation. Yeah, it was not nice.
It's strange, isn't it? I think from a fan's point of view, because and you're talking about things being a TV show there. We see those things. We only know that now, I guess, through the TV footage archive. So we see that footage of Lineker talking about Gaza having gone and things like that. But you were there, you've got it in your own mind as a memory. You see it from your angle rather than the one that we've all seen on TV, because that's the only angle we've got on it.
Exactly, that's exactly right, and that's why I suppose the complete different view is that Netherlands game, because you've seen that. And the parrot fashion, and I like that, and all that. I never saw any of that. I'm out there playing in the game. I didn't see that. So, yeah, it's looking back, I see different angles, but certainly that was the worst. The semi-final was awful, because I think we kind of deserved to go through. If you're bad on the day, you hold your hands up. You know what? We didn't deserve it, but at that game, I thought we fought. We should have been in that final, World Cup final, it doesn't kind of come
Does it
around.
still kind of nag on you a little bit when you look back on your career and think that, you can't have any regrets in life? I think that's one thing I would say. You look back on your mistakes or things you've done wrong or wish you'd done differently. And obviously there's always going to be a natural little bit of regret, but you learn to let these things go. Does it still kind of nag on you that we could have just gone that extra step? We could have done this. We could have gone to the USA.
No, I don't think like that. I think so with that, World Cup experience, I look at it as such a positive to be part of it to that point. I think if you look back, you can be critical all through your life. That's not the way to do it. It's like learning from those things and moving on. So, I always thought that there were incredible experiences. I was forever grateful to be part of it, whether it was just on the bench or it was playing the full 90 or whatever. So, no, but then you think, well, that was the moment, but it's gone. And that's it. So, but these things are really difficult to attain for a reason. Not many people do it, and it's every 4 years. So you got to be pretty special. But we got close.
Had you decided where your penalty was going?
In the goal.
Is the right answer.
Were you someone who would have thought, if I take this, it's going top left. I'm going to go low. I'm going to go down the middle. Because
did you have a spot? Because I don't know. Did you have a spot?
To be fair, I'm with you in that I would have picked a spot. Yeah, I would have picked a spot. I look at some of the penalty takers now, and some are really impressive. In that they're looking, or they're going to jump, or they're going to do a delay tactic and wait for a movement and all that sort of stuff. I was not like that. No, I was going to try and pick a spot.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you have a spot that you would always go to? Did you have a little one that you preferred?
I did.
If you looked at me then as if to say, I don't want to tell you what it is,
because I may have to play against you. I did. It will be low to the keeper's right. However, as I played at Torino, and they had a player there who took the penalties. And so if you think I'm left-footed and I'm going to the keeper's right, which means I've got to start it either slightly outside the post or on the post to bring it back inside.
So this means you're going left on your natural side.
That's right. Yeah. I'm going left. Yeah. So it means you've because your natural way you're going to curl the ball, it will come back towards the goal. Okay. That's a bit dangerous because you're going outside of the post. Whereas there was a player that I played with, Marco Ferranti at Torino, who was right-footed, and he would go to the same way, but his would start closer to the keeper, but then spin away and go right into the bottom corner. And he would do it time and time again. And he would even tell the keeper, stand a yard that way, and I'll still get it in there. And that's what he did. So that was... his technique was fantastic. So I maybe should have swapped to the other side, but,
right.
But I didn't. I would go the other way. I felt more comfortable.
And just a final thought on these tournaments. Is there ever an awareness when you're there, whether it's on the bench or on the pitch? Do you ever have a moment of realisation? There are millions of people at home willing us to do this, and there are possibly billions around the world watching this right now.
No.
Not
at all.
Just in the zone.
Just in the zone. Just where can I spend my energy to be most productive, and that isn't a good place to spend your energy. Where I did work it all out, was when from the World Cup, flying back into London, we flew into Luton Airport, and I don't know, 250,000 people were there, and it took us like 2 hours to go 3 miles back to the hotel to pick the cars up. I thought that was nuts. But what is going on? And then, everyone is talking about lots of different things about the tournament because everyone was all over it. And I even think, even now, people of that era think that 1990 World Cup was an incredible time, and they can pick out a load of different things. And at the time, for me and the team, it's like we're in a bubble. We've got a job to do. How do we best do it? And, so we never quite felt that. No.
Yeah, that's the one. That and Euro 96 are the two that are emotionally resonant for me.
Yeah, absolutely. 96 is another one.
Managed to blank 92 out of my mind.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
So that going back into club football, after that, obviously after a summer tournament, you've got a little bit of a break. But like with a window like now, when it's during the season, what's that transition like? Is there any adjustment back the other way?
There always will be. There is, but the good thing is when you're coming back into your club, it's like putting your old comfy jacket back on. It fits, everything's right. You know what's going on. It's pretty easy to transition back in. So no, I never felt. I felt good. I felt really good coming back to my club. I just played for my country. So why wouldn't you feel good?
Well, how much time do you normally get there? Because I'm aware that it's probably to Leeds United's advantage this weekend that we've got Swansea on the Sunday because it just gives that extra day. What was it like in terms of saying you're landing back in the UK when? Yeah,
it's all different. It depends on where you're playing and what time. If you get a flight straight after the game or not, or if you're staying over. It's always different. But you always would have a couple of days to get back into it, and then off you go again. It was just another game.
It maybe reflects the change in standing of international football. That when I was younger, I used to be annoyed when Leeds players went away on international duty and didn't play. Whereas now, if they don't play at all, I'm quite pleased with it because I just want them to come back unscathed. If I see Dan James starting last night, I was like, I'd rather he just left him on the bench.
Because you kind of watch the Nations League and you understand the point of the Nations League, and that's to add another layer of competitive football rather than meaningless friendlies.
Yep.
But I used to quite enjoy the meaningless friendlies when I was a kid, and I don't know if that's a reflection on me or football, as you say, Michael.
I say, if Gary Speed, I would have wanted him to play for Wales in a meaningless international game. Joe Rodon, I don't want him there. He's just going to bang his head. He's going to be injured
again. The Nations League, I get the concept of that. I quite like it in that, for instance, so in one of the qualifying games that we played San Marino. So England played San Marino. I played in that game at Wembley. We won 6-0. That was kind of par for the course. If you beat them 4-0, then we were rubbish. We would have got absolutely dug out. If we beat them 10, well done. You've had a good game. 6 was okay. And playing at Wembley, where they would kick off against a team that would kick off, their number 9 would drop back into the holding midfield. Their midfield would drop back in on top of their back 5, and then that was it. That was the game, and it went like that for 90 minutes. I don't quite understand. In that, it wasn't any good for us because I never play games like that. Who plays like that?
Plymouth.
Yeah, I was going to say that's why it's so jarring. Yeah.
To be fair, you're absolutely right. How crazy was that? Mm-hmm. I've never seen a team come and play 6 at the back like that. Okay, it was a 4, but then they went back to a 6 like all the time. It was never, ever going to work. That was the most bizarre formation and game plan that I've ever known. However, so Plymouth, the San Marino of the Champions League, the Championship, was a strange game. So no good for us, really no good for them at all. So now they're going to be playing the likes of Liechtenstein, who they've actually won their first away international ever by beating them, and they've got promoted, which I think surely helps them become a better team rather than working out how to put 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 behind the ball.
Yeah, there's more merit to it.
We were saying that it's as good as it's going to get for them because they're going to get promoted now in the Nations League, and then they're going to start losing again.
It's a bit like
it's better being back. It's better being down there.
I was going to say it's a bit like Ipswich and Southampton going up to the Premier League this last time. Not having a lot of fun at all.
No, you just get beaten every week.
See, I've had that from Leeds fans as well.
Yeah.
Coming to me and saying, well, do we really want to go up? And I'm going, course we do.
Yeah.
Get up there. And I know it's going to be difficult. I know, but if we make the right decisions and right steps, we can start taking those steps. They're going, I quite like winning.
That's the realisation I've had in recent weeks when Ellen Road has been flat. And I think it's because our baseline has been set. There's a number of combination of factors, but our baseline has basically been set at about mid-table Premier League now because we flirted with it under Bielsa. So I think we just need to be there and to start making that climb again, because we can't stay here and we can't face games like we did against Plymouth and QPR week after week after week, because that's damaging the atmosphere as well, because it's removing the removal of jeopardy, removing entertainment value, I suppose, from it. So we probably, and I've kind of made peace with the idea that we need to get there and face the struggle. I'm kind of ready for it now, I think. What about you?
Yeah, the option is, you stay here with a diminishing squad as you have to sell people off, and then all of a sudden you're not winning every week in the Championship either, because we've been here for a lot of years, finishing 15th. Then
you're just another Championship side, aren't you, I suppose, because you have to sell everybody just to sustain the club. Yeah,
no, I think you're absolutely right. And I was talking to a Chelsea fan, an Arsenal fan, and Liverpool fans, and they're saying, well, we'd much rather beat Leeds United than beat Bournemouth or whatever it is. And I said, you know what, you might beat us, but at least we're going to play against you lot. And that's what I think we should be aspiring to. And eventually we're going to beat you as well. It's back to those days, which, I'd like to see. Actually, the goal against QPR, the first one, sometimes we score the beautiful goal. That was the complete opposite, and I loved it because I'd love to score more of those.
Yeah,
the first miss, and then the whatever Mateo Joseph was trying to do, I don't know, whacked it into the ground, and then Bogle almost missed it. He had a good effort to try and miss that one as well, but it doesn't matter. It went in, but we should have been 1 or 2 up, shouldn't we? We're playing some lovely stuff, but those ugly, horrible goals, I want to see more of them.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully we will on Sunday, segueing into that.
Yeah.
Some more international travel for you? Going off to South Wales.
And that's another reason why. Can we just go to the Premier League? I can just go along the M62 or just down to London rather than all the way to Swansea. So it's another away game, which I think clearly is where we need to improve. It's the away form, isn't it? Turning those draws into wins. And obviously last time out, the Millwall defeat was disappointing.
We did a show with Ali Maxwell from Not the Top 20, which is an EFL, whole of EFL 72 team show. And therefore they analyse and keep an eye on the styles of football of the various teams. And Ali was saying on that show that Swansea actually try and be quite possession heavy,
right?
Which is not something we've come up against a lot this season. I think we seem to benefit from coming up against that approach last season.
Yeah.
Do we hope for a repeat of that where we can exploit, because they played a really high line? Do you remember last year? Why are they still doing this?
It's one of our easiest wins last season.
Yeah, it felt like an absolute walk in the park.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think teams that certainly clearly go deep, they wait for a counter-attack or a set piece, that sort of side, we struggle a little bit more, only because we don't take our chances, not because we're not better than them, but I think anyone that then wants to come and a bit more toe-to-toe or come out and play and commit more bodies forward, I think that clearly suits us. Yeah, absolutely. So any team that wants to come and try and get on the front foot and give us a game, I'll always back us, simply because you look at the way we can counter, look at the speed that we've got, but it will be normally the other way around, where we'll have plenty of possession and trying to go into a lot of bodies and how do we break them down. So I think Swansea, hopefully they do play that style, and let's see how we go.
I think we've had plenty of good away points this season. Maybe didn't feel it at the time, but at the end of the season you look back at points at West Brom and Norwich and Sunderland and you go, well, they're tough places to go. We need to win this.
Yeah.
It's definitely, you will chalk this up as drop points if we don't get 3.
In light of the fact that, what happened at Sunderland though, as well, and the fact that we didn't really go for it at either West Brom or at Bristol. There was a certain amount of playing within ourselves.
Well, I think the Sunderland one, have you recovered from that? Because I'm not quite sure I have. The Bristol, I thought the last 15, 20 minutes, I thought mentally we were poor. Some of our decision-making and passing, that was poor. It's a draw, but you just get that right and you go and win that game. But I'm with you. I think Swansea is one now that, okay, that has to stop. And against teams like Swansea, we have to be winning those.
Do you see a change in the style of football at Championship level, or has one evolved over recent times? Because that's another thing we were talking about with Ali on the show, Not the Top 20. The shift in how many coaches and managers in the Championship are trying to change their style of football. It feels perhaps, I mean, Leeds come up against it in fairly unique circumstances in that a lot of teams do camp on the edge of their area. But generally speaking, people are trying to play a more considered passing, maybe slightly slower tempo style of football. Yeah,
you're right. I think simply because you've got the foreign influence, I don't think there's as much variation these days. I'd like to see someone just kick it up to a 6'7" striker who knocks it down to a little guy who then puts it in the back of the net and go, how did that happen? Wow, that's amazing.
There's Lee Chapman and Rod Wallace.
Exactly. They're like them. So, Chappie, come on, Rodders, let's get back out there. So I don't really see that so much. Some of it is good football, but I always think, to me, it's end product. What's the end product? What are you trying to do? And does that achieve it or not? So, use what you've got to the best abilities, but achieve that goal, which is winning football matches and scoring.
Do you think it's been maybe led by algorithm almost? Because the use of data now is so high and so widespread that I suppose you're always going to be led by what the data shows you. And, I suppose it's a more refined way of playing the percentages rather than just playing a percentage ball of, put this many crosses in and a certain number of them will get converted by Lee Chapman. It's a case of, if we pass in this way and we do this particular style of football at this pace and we reduce the number of shots we take from the edge of the box because only X percentage go in and we try and work it, is it perhaps is this like algorithm style football we're seeing now almost?
Well, data is there to help. We have so much data in lots of different ways, don't we? And in football, you can have data on every single that you want. So I suppose now the information is key. Information is king. So you've got that information, but it's how you use it and what's important and what's not, and then getting it through to the players kind of in the right way. And I kind of had a bit of that in my career right at the end at Derby County because a company called, I think it was Prozone, they actually kind of started it under Steve McLaren and old Jim Smith, the manager. Steve McLaren was the coach, and Prozone were in there, and they were just starting this data and giving us certain bits of information, which was helpful. It was because to could see it in different ways rather than just numbers. It could be visual. It could be, all sorts rather than just out on the training pitch all the time. So I'm for it. I think it's a great thing. But the skill now is using it, in the right way. And then of course, you look at the likes of Brentford and their model and how they've done, and how they've used data and how successful they've been. Then everyone will think, oh, that's the way to do it. And on you go. But we're just getting inundated with stuff. I suppose the skill now is knowing what to use and how to use it.
How to pass it, basically.
Well, stick it in the back of the net. I know it's a real basic thing, but there's the onion bag, put it in.
And with regards to that, then, final question, who do you go with in terms of lineup against Swansea?
Pirro's got the going back to a former club thing, hasn't he? I think maybe he starts, even whether or not that's the right decision or not. I don't know. I kind of enjoy Joseph starting games and Pirro coming on, but I think he might go Pirro.
I'm with you. I think he probably will. Mateo Joseph, didn't he score the winner for the under-21s again for Spain? I really think he is a player that will catch fire at some point. I suppose what the manager is thinking, Daniel's thinking, is that, well, when's that going to be and how long can we wait and what have you? But he brings so much to the game, but you've got to bring that bit as well. And I know he can do it because I've seen him do it. I've seen him in pre-season do it. But I think if we're talking about getting promotion, winning the championship title, a striker needs to be scoring the 20-odd goals. And is that Joseph at this point in time? So I think it could be, but where's the chance? So I think you're right. I think Peru will start.
If we're up and about the top two, let's say, when January comes around, would you be entirely surprised if they looked to get somebody else in at centre forward? No,
I think it will be, clearly it's going to be finances and see, what they have got and what we need and where we need it. But by that time, our injuries, the list should hopefully decrease, which is great. Largely Ramazzani, I saw him with a picture with his boots on, so that's a good sign. So we don't know when all these guys are kind of coming back. But again, you look at our squad and even it's been decimated a bit, but you still look at our bench recently and it's still not bad at all. So what we need and when we need it, it'll be interesting to see what the club, exactly do. But surely if it's the right player at the right price, January would be the right time to kind of just get us over the line, wouldn't it?
Yeah. It feels a bit now or never this time, doesn't it?
But the club effectively said they didn't plan to sell Georgie when they did. So there's money there, you would have to assume. Whether or not that was in entirely true, I suppose. We will wait and see if they just think, well, we can keep that money for now, and we'll maybe spend it next year.
Yeah,
But
I hope they get the insurance signing though. That whether that's an extra striker or maybe a number 10 or heaven forbid both, just to give us that little bit of extra. But I realise the number 10 is going to be possibly difficult to do and or expensive. But let's just see, I guess. But I'd just like us to make sure that we have more than enough to do with this time.
Yeah, no, understandable. I think one of the other things I remember from one of the recent games was Gila Vogie. Again, a signing that we kind of just needed for a body. But he came on, I think, for his home debut, and the crowd were going crazy for him just to come on. And he must have thought, wow, this place is amazing, And then he gets the ball and he passes it 10 yards sidewards, and it was like he'd scored a goal. And I thought, brilliant. He must thinking, wow, this place is incredible. And I think even just the little minutes that he's been on, he's been impressive. I think looking how he interacts with the players around him as well. So I'm there before. I watched the warm-ups, and you can see, he's central to the young boys. And I just think as a good egg in the dressing room experience and all that sort of stuff, he'll be really helpful.
It's almost like an additional pair of coaching hands, I suppose, isn't he?
Yeah.
From a seniority point of view, being able to speak to the young players and say, "It's all right, lads, just stay down."
It is, but then I'm also thinking you've lost Stuart Dallas, you lost Coops, you lost Luke Ayling, and those sort of things. Just another experienced voice in a different way, I think, is useful. Yeah.
Well, 3 points, fingers crossed on Sunday. Thanks again for coming in, Tony, and really insightful as well, looking into international football, because obviously the call might still come.
You never know.
Don't give up on your dreams.
Never give up on your dreams, okay? But you might not need to charge your battery. I think you'll be okay.
Cheers, Tony. We'll speak again soon.
Cheers. Thank you.
The Square Ball Podcast.